My dudes, we are back, of course, to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it finally happened. Ya boy finished the hard mode playthrough. I actually didn't start this until earlier this year, sometime, I don't know, March or April or something like that, and I played up until like chapter 11, beat Eligor, finished chapter 11, started chapter 12, hit a save, and just haven't touched it until like the last week or so for some reason. I don't even know why. Maybe I got busy playing other games. I know I got into playing a lot of Cold War and stuff for a while there. Maybe that's why. Playing some Cold War with the boys. But anyways, I finally finished the hard mode playthrough here recently, and everything else for the most part. I finished like the Bahamut fight in the VR, but also all the hard mode fights you do in the combat simulator. I finished, Pride and Joy, the Marlboro, stuff like that. As it stands right now for me in terms of the platinum for the game, the only thing I'm missing is the last few dresses for Dress to the Nines, and of course the stupid ass pull-up minigame that the game's almost 2 years old, right? We're a couple months out from 2 years old. I cannot complete this stupid fucking trophy. But if not for this trophy, I would pretty much have the platinum already, which is pretty cool. Which, as we all know at this point, is pretty much a meme that Jules is the actual super boss of this game. And I was surprised to see with that screenshot I took that there are more people that have done the pull-up trophy than have got a character to level 50. That kind of surprised me. So I figure after completing hard mode that I'd do some sort of like a bit of a review for it, because I didn't even do a review for the base game. And as for why I didn't start my hard mode playthrough until this year, I remember trying it sometime last year after my normal mode playthrough and just getting decimated. Like I got to the end of chapter 1 and Scorpion Sentinel beat me and I lost to the first boss in the game. And I said, fuck this. But to be fair, I wasn't even level 50 yet. And I wasn't taking hard mode seriously. Like I wasn't optimizing my loadouts. I was just going in there with whatever I probably carried over from the end of chapter 18 or some shit. And that's why Scorpion Sentinel beat me. And that's absolutely why I want to talk about it, because playing back through this entire game on hard mode made me fall in love with this game again. It's been said before, but I'll say it here for the first time on this channel. Play through hard mode is the optimal way to play. You can't really appreciate the combat, the materia system, the weapons that you choose to use when you go into a fight until you play it on hard mode. Like going through normal mode, like I would sometimes equip somebody with like the right elemental and magic materia to make sure that I can go through this area or this boss fight easily. If I know I'm about to fight like a robotic enemy or some shit like that. But for the most part, going through the game, I just used any weapon and kind of just whatever materia I felt like using, and that's part of, I guess, maybe the fun of normal mode, but you don't really get the feel of the combat until you play hard mode, because there's like weapon abilities that didn't make sense to me when I was playing through on normal mode, like reprieve and trade-off and stuff like that I don't think I ever used on my normal mode playthrough. I was like, why would I want to use a weapon that has an ability for if I would get killed, it leaves me with 1 HP, because I'm never really failing any fights in normal mode. Well, when you play hard mode, you realize how good something like reprieve is. It's by no means like absolutely necessary through your hard mode playthrough, but it definitely helps. But there is a few fights, namely like the Bahamut hard mode fight on your way to Pride and Joy, where you fight Bahamut and also Ifrit. Like that's a fight where something like reprieve is almost necessary, because if you can't stagger before he mega flares you, like it's gonna kill you. So you have to have either reprieve or like the revival earrings on your characters, or it's pretty much game over for the most part. And also something like trade-off, where when I'm playing on normal mode, this seems almost not useless, but like you don't need to struggle for MP on normal mode. You have benches and items for one. Which of course is like the main thing when it comes to hard mode. Obviously enemies are stronger and deal more damage, but you cannot use items at all through hard mode, and you do not recover MP from like benches. You can only recover MP from within battle, or as you start a new chapter. Whenever you end a chapter, start another chapter, your characters are fully restored. This is something I was a bit indifferent on, simply because you're getting rid of an entire game mechanic just to make it quote-unquote hard. But I understand it, because if you could use items in hard mode, and if you could recover MP at benches and stuff like that, then there would be no hard mode. This should be super fucking easy. And to be honest, hard mode itself is pretty easy if you go into it prepared. Like if you have, magnify and barrier for certain fights, or subversion and warding for certain fights, or elemental with the right magic on your armor, like it makes fights almost where you can't lose. Like even like the Bahamut Ifrit fight I mentioned in hard mode. If you have, elemental and fire on your armor, then that makes Ifrit pretty much not able to do damage to your character. He's actually in fact healing your character if your elemental magic is all the way max. So all you really got to worry about is still Bahamut. So yes, there are obviously still hard fights within hard mode. If you're prepared for them, if you know what you're doing, if you're following guides, for example, it's still not really that hard. The hardest aspect really when it comes to hard mode is just optimizing your MP. Just making sure you're not wasting that, using it when it's necessary within and throughout chapters, because you have obviously a limited amount. And the easiest way to do that, of course, is to put the prayer materia or chakra materia, depending on which one you prefer, on your characters. It's something else I didn't do enough of that helps a lot with conserving MP when it comes to hard mode, specifically with Aerith, is her ability Arcane Ward, where whenever you activate it, you stand in it. Obviously, you use 2 of the same spell whenever you activate a spell. I just wasn't doing that enough, and if I had been doing that a lot more through hard mode, I probably would have completed it a lot sooner. And that's kind of the thing, dude. Through the most of my hard mode playthrough, I was not, like, taking it seriously. Like, I got all the way up to the Elgor fight, the end of Chapter 11. And that's where I was struggling. Like, Elgor is where I couldn't, like, he was beating my ass. I think I didn't have enough MP going into that fight or something like that, whatever the case. And that's whenever I started looking stuff up and realized that people use, like, prayer and chakra and stuff like that for hard mode. I was like, that makes so much fucking sense. Like, what am I doing? Why have I not been doing this entire time? And from then on, I started taking hard mode seriously and, like, optimizing loadouts and shit. And it got so much more fun and so much more interesting. And the thing is, once I did get back into it, Chapter 12 and beyond in the last week or so, like, I started following online guides, not like YouTube videos, but like actual guides from like Game8 and GamerGuides.com. I don't know how well their guides are perceived, but they helped me beat this game and the Pride and Joy and all the other hard mode stuff. And the thing is, I probably couldn't have beat those without a guide. Like, I'm just not that good at the combat. You see me struggling with fucking Tonberry forever. I struggle with the second Tonberry in the stream of fights too. I'm just not that good at the combat in this game. I think I've definitely improved because of hard mode, but I'm still not overall that good, and I could never have beat, like, Bahamut, probably even just regular Bahamut in, like, the Chadley VR without some sort of guide. Now, that being said, because I did follow these guides, I beat most of the hard fights in this game on my first try. Like, the Bahamut VR fight with Chadley, beat that the first time, the Pride and Joy, the Marlboro, stuff like that. Like, I beat all of these on my first try because I was going into them as prepared as you could probably be. And to be honest, that's what I recommend. If you're somebody that hasn't, committed to the full playthrough of hard mode, or maybe intimidated by it, or whatever the case, like maybe you just haven't done it yet, there's nothing wrong with pulling up a guide, dude. Just get it done. Like, I just wanted to get these trophies out of the way and try to platinum the game. And I still gotta try to beat Jules, which I don't think I'm strong enough. So going back to some of the hard mode mechanics, the no items and limited MP. Now, when it comes to limited MP, I get why that can be hard, but as long as you're using like prayer, which is the one I use the most, I barely even ever use chakra. As long as you're using prayer to heal for the most part, and just not using the Aga spells like Cure Aga, Thundaga, and all that stuff, it's honestly relatively easy to conserve your MP and really just stack some MP ups on like Aerith and whoever your like healer or magic damage dealer is going to be, and you're solid. You're good to go. And that's where it becomes like a love-hate thing for me when it comes to hard mode, because as long as you're not just wasting MP and you're, again, using your ATB gauges and prayer and chakra, whatever the case, like, it kind of completely gets rid of what is supposed to be a handicap for you, because as long as you're smartly using your MP, it technically negates what is meant to be one of the harder aspects of hard mode, but again, I still agree with it. I think it's great. It makes you think outside the box, use different material that you weren't using probably on your normal mode playthrough, which, for me, again, I wasn't even using prayer on normal mode, because MP is not something you have to struggle with. You have elixirs and ethers and benches to get your MP back all the time, so I was healing all the time right away with Cura and Magnified, not even thinking about it. Something else I noticed like later into the playthrough that didn't click for the most part through most of it was that they didn't allow you to use the Arise spell, which is like the second level to the revival materia that lets you fully heal somebody, bring them back and they have full health. And I guess that also makes sense, because then it'd be like super easy for hard mode, because you kill somebody, you can bring them back all the way with like 9,199 health or whatever. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but that's another weird thing I noticed. Like, that's just them trying to think, how can we possibly make this hard? And honestly, it's something I wasn't even sure I was right on, but looking up online, I can't see anybody talking about it, so I pulled up the game again, recorded some gameplay, and I let Cloud die to this Tonberry, Aerith, and Barrett. All three characters actually have max survival materials. Made sure they had 2 ATB gauges in case maybe a Rise took 2 ATB gauges and I just forgot about that. It just doesn't let you use it for hard mode. Which, of course, I completely understand, because it'd make the mode way too easy if you could bring back somebody to full health with just, like, a limited amount of MP. Less than what it takes to do, like, an August spell, for example. And there's actually more to hard mode than just no items and limited MP, because boss fights are different. Enemies are more aggressive, bosses have new attacks altogether, new attack patterns and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool. It's actually really interesting how in-depth hard mode is. And again, that's why it's the optimal way to play this game. But speaking of the limited MP again, that's where something like the Shinner boxes became surprisingly one of the most important things for a hard mode playthrough, depending on how you conserve your MP, of course. There's definitely a few chapters where, depending on how a boss fight went, if I was like pretty low on MP, I'm like happy to see a stack of Shinner boxes and hoping that I get a Mako shard to give me back a little bit of MP, just in case for the next boss fight. As for like my overall thoughts on hard mode, man, I think it's fantastic. I think you have to play it if you haven't. You can't really appreciate this game and the depth of it, like the depth of like the weapon customization and the material loadouts and combinations, unless you play it on hard mode, where it's like certain things are almost required if you actually want to beat certain fights. But it's also kind of to the detriment of hard mode, to where like certain materia combinations make it to where most fights aren't really that hard at all, as long as you know what you're doing, as long as you're playing kind of smart. When it comes to hard mode, you can boil down the materia combinations to the same thing for most of the game. You can usually want to do like HP up materials on most people, at least one, maybe two. Same thing with like MP up or magic up. And then you want to do prayer on one or two people just so you can heal without having to waste MP. And then you want to have, use like magnify onto a cura just in case that needs to be done, where you can heal everybody at once. And then past that, it's just like elemental and a certain magic on your armor to make you immune or healed by some of the enemies. And that's pretty much it. You can use almost whatever weapon and armor you want throughout most of hard mode. And sometimes the accessory will matter depending on certain fights, but it's really not that complicated. Also, some of the other recommended materials that you could do are First Strike, just to have that instant like ATB gauge. ATB Stagger, because staggering is obviously going to be very, very important for hard mode. And then something like Steadfast Block. Even if you yourself don't block all that often or even at all, your AI teammates will, and that'll be super beneficial because they'll take a lot less damage and they'll charge up their ATB gauges. But because of But because of certain weapon abilities, you almost gravitate towards just a couple of weapons for hard mode. Like me specifically, I use Iron Blade on Cloud because it has trade-off, but also reprieve. Just in case things go south, a fight goes wrong, I won't die. I'll be saved. If I get hit by a really strong attack, I can gain a shit ton of MP back, which obviously is very beneficial for hard mode. So something that was a bit of a letdown for me that I hope they can maybe optimize better for hard mode for like part 2 and beyond is that it'd be nice if there's fights where you almost have to use a specific weapon. I don't want it to be like unbeatable or unplayable if I don't use that weapon, but it'd be nice if there were certain fights where like I needed to use the light machine gun with Barrett, or maybe even the wrecking ball or atomic scissors. Because with Barrett specifically, you don't use any not ranged weapon for Barrett for hard mode. That'd just be stupid to run up on the enemy. It's a lot better if you can hang back and damage them. Or I guess more so than them making it to where you need specific weapons for specific fights, they really just need to balance the weapons overall, because when it comes to hard mode, there's just certain weapons you use with certain characters, and you just really don't touch most of the others. Just using Cloud as an example here, when it came to hard mode, I pretty much only used the Iron Blade, with a little bit of the Buster Sword because I like the Buster Sword, and a little bit of the Twin Stinger. And I never touched the Nailbat, Mythal Saber, or Hard Edge throughout the entire playthrough. It's not necessarily that the other weapons are bad, it's just the ones that I did use throughout the playthrough are a lot more enticing for a hard mode playthrough in terms of either their stats or the abilities that they offer. But my dudes, I think that is pretty much going to be the video. Overall, I think with just a few minor gripes, and I'd barely even call them gripes because it really wasn't a big deal. I loved hard mode. It was absolutely fantastic. Again, it made me fall back in love with this game. Like I played through this game when it first came out over, maybe a couple weeks or a month or so. I made it last as long as I could. Attempted hard mode, didn't really care for it, and then just kind of have sporadically played it, throughout the last year and something. And I haven't really sat down and committed to a full-on playthrough since my first playthrough when the game launched. And this is the first time, though it's split up by, half of it like earlier this year and half of it now. God, it felt good to play this game again and actually really, really enjoy the combat. If you, for some reason, by now have not committed to that full-on from Chapter 1 to Chapter 18 hard mode playthrough, I cannot recommend it to you enough. And this comes from somebody that I did not care for the combat when it came to base game. We didn't review the game, so I've never really talked about this on video. I didn't really care for it. I didn't like it. I couldn't really grasp it, I guess. Didn't really understand it. It wasn't really optimizing my ATB gauges, so on and so forth. Just I wasn't doing things right. Hard mode fixed that for me. From a gameplay perspective, hard mode completely flipped this game around for me to where I love it even more than I did before. I loved it just because of the story, getting to see these iconic locations and things from the original FF7 in the modern day graphics and engine and stuff like that. But now I also love the combat aspect of this game. So I fully am back in love with this game again. Like I love it from the story down to the gameplay. I could gush on this shit forever, my dudes. We need to end this video at some point. So let me know your thoughts for starters. Have you played hard mode? I'm certain some of you probably beat hard mode, the first month or some shit after the game came out. You were a lot more committed than I was back then. When it comes to hard mode, what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? What are some aspects you think that they can maybe change for Remake Part 2 and beyond? So on and so forth, of course. Just leave your thoughts on hard mode at all in the comments below. My dudes, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys already want to do more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT, and my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description. And in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.